Another day, another article about Andrei Kuzmenko and the Vancouver Canucks. This time we're also talking a little bit about the other teams that are reportedly interested in him as well, because there were more teams, more conversations that apparently happened, and since they're leaking out into the media, I felt like it would be appropriate to go out there and highlight these teams as well. But of course, we're sticking with Vancouver because according to all sources, it appears that the Canucks have themselves, or they might have themselves, I don't know for sure, a pretty good edge in these conversations too. So, Andrei Kuzmenko, this is like the fourth time we're going to need to say this. KHL guy, free agent, talented player, 26 years old, over a point per game, and he's a guy that could be seen as a pretty good NHL pickup should he sign with an NHL team and make his transition over to North America. Now, I've had my reservations this entire time. The KHL is not the greatest league in the world, and there are a lot of other players that outproduced Kuzmenko or that were in the same realm of point production as Kuzmenko who have not had NHL success in the past, nor will they ever do so. However, there are some people in the scouting community whose opinions that I value that have talked about Kuzmenko in a very positive way, talking about how he could actually translate into the NHL in more ways than one. Daniel G has this amazing article on dailyhav.com, How Good Kuzmenko Can Be and Why the Canucks Are After Him, where he talks about a few things that put him a tier above other KHL players that produced well, like Marcus Granlund and Nikolai Goldobin and all that stuff. Kuzmenko's game in transition is, in simple terms, fast. His pace of play, execution speed, and decision-making north to south directly correlated to faster and more efficient play for SKA this season. The dimension that makes Kuzmenko interesting is the skill blending and delay game he employs to maximize his puck possessions. The Russian winger does an excellent job protecting the puck in hip pocket, all while executing punch turns and stop-ups to freeze gapped up defenders, all while looking for trailing teammates who activate up the center lane. Even when Kuzmenko is the primary shooter on the rush, the details permeate. He looks for give-and-go activations, allowing him to crash high-danger areas like the crease, and he has an inside leg wrister that adds deception to his release, and he makes a point to take outside-to-inside routes, funneling the puck into the middle of the ice. There's a lot more over here from Daniel. There also are some things published on The Province. This is an article by Patrick Johnston. Canucks on the short list to add top Russian free agent Andrei Kuzmenko from 3 days ago. One of the opinions that Johnson gathers is from Will Scouch, whose opinion I absolutely value. It's like one of my gospels, to be honest. Kuzmenko has slowly blossomed into one of the only undrafted KHL players that I think could easily translate to a significant offensive role in the NHL, Scouch said. His offensive skills put together make him a devastating player with the puck. He battles to go to the net, but he can also use skill to navigate pressure and get in tight to the net too. He can draw on pressure and pass pucks out of his lane, he finds space off puck, and can be a shooting threat there as well. He's evasive on his edges down low, trying to create passing lanes or space to find shooting opportunities. The quickness on his release is fine, but not necessarily a huge threat in my view. As an offensive winger with a diverse toolkit, Kuzmenko should be an everyday NHL player, likely working his way onto a team's middle six group of wingers, Scouch concluded. Now, the reason we're talking about Kuzmenko once again, firstly, it's because there are so many other teams that have emerged in the entire thing here. The Carolina Hurricanes, the Edmonton Oilers, the Predators, and the Golden Knights, among others, have all been linked to Kuzmenko in one way or another. We've had Carolina articles published out there, we have had Vegas articles published out there, and to be fair, all these teams, pretty much every NHL team, if you're not in on this guy, what are you doing? You're not really doing your scouting correctly. I guess you could go out there and say, oh, some teams might not value him as much as other teams, which is fair, but still, if you're doing your due diligence, if there's an asset on the market that is for free, you kind of have to do your part and at least interview the guy, right? So, at the end of the day, if Carolina, Vegas, Nashville, and Edmonton are the only other competitors Vancouver has, which is not going to be the case, but just hypothetically saying if it is, I do think Vancouver would offer Kuzmenko more than what these other teams could provide in terms of what Kuzmenko was looking for. An actual ability to stick around in the NHL in a middle six and not be a bottom-tier AHL tweener guy. He also wants to stick around not just for the year that he would be able to sign his ELC for. He wants to sign on long-term after that because he wants an NHL home. Which is why we go over onto the most recent piece published by Drance and Dollywall on The Athletic. This is from a few days ago, so not everything is up to date. What we're hearing about the Canucks off-season priorities, staffing, Kuzmenko, and Boudreau. That's how you know it's a little bit outdated, because Boudreau got re-signed yesterday. But this is what they say about Andrei Kuzmenko. There's increasing belief, by the way, shout out to Levorv on Reddit, who went out there and summarized this, that Vancouver is emerging as the strong favorite for Kuzmenko. Vancouver is very high on the player. They believe he can immediately become a productive player. There are hurdles that must be overcome before the deal can be made, namely visa issues and the war in Ukraine. The club believes he can be a day-one difference maker on the power play. He must be signed to a $925,000 one-year-long contract with a max $850,000 in Schedule A bonuses and $2 million in Schedule B bonuses. The pitch goes past this year, as the agent and player want to know what kind of pay they'll be getting past year 1, 2. And in fact, if Bruce Boudreau went out there and was in the interview with Kuzmenko, as it reportedly was the case, then it's probably a good bet to see that Kuzmenko would know and familiarize himself with the system right away. Okay, Bruce is the guy that's going to be the coach. I talked to Bruce, and Bruce told me about myself and the way he plans to use me should I go over to Vancouver. And so far, we haven't actually had any more, teams and the updates. We did have that one thing from Jim Matheson saying that maybe Ken Holland personally called out to Kuzmenko, but I mean, look, if a GM is negotiating with a player, then of course the GM is going to talk to the guy, right? This tweet is from Rick Dollywell from a few days ago as well. The Canucks are a finalist to land Andrei Kuzmenko. They have made the short list of teams. A decision is still a few weeks away, though, according to agent Dan Milstein. The reason this is the case is because there are some teams that are in the playoffs right now that still got to interview him, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier, right? Doing your due diligence. If you're an NHL team and there's a free asset on the market that wants to sign somewhere, you got to ask this guy what he's about, because anybody can go out there and be the team. Anybody can go out there and get themselves, let's say, for the sake of argument, a 20-goal, 50-point winger right off the bat for free. Now, if he pans out and becomes that right away, then I'd actually be pretty shocked, but more the merrier, right? You like seeing more players actually exhibit success in the National Hockey League, especially ones that haven't had that opportunity in the past. And so if you're a fan of the Vancouver Canucks, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think Kuzmenko could do with Vancouver? Watch the tape, go out there and actually read up about this guy, because he does have some pretty good and pretty notable attributes that I think could boost the Vancouver Canucks in their forward core, plus the fact that he's right-handed. The Canucks needed a lot more right-handed forwards this season. Chiasson, Garland, and Besser just being it, not good enough, sorry. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Andrei Kuzmenko and what he could be. How do you feel about the Vancouver Canucks being the emerging favorites? If you're a fan of any of the other teams, though, Carolina, Vegas, talk to me if you're Nashville as well. How do you feel about Kuzmenko? What do you think this guy could do for your team? If you're a Nashville fan, I'm really interested in seeing where this guy could slot in after you failed to make at least an impact in the postseason. Okay, that was maybe kind of harsh. I shouldn't have said it like that, but you get what I mean, right? You guys got swept. There are improvements to be made. There are conversations you need to have about guys like Philip Forsberg. Where does Kuzmenko lie in all of this? If you get yourselves a guy that can get an extra 40, 50 points on a season, where does he slot in? And what do you do with the other aspects of your team? Furthermore, you have yourselves the Carolina Hurricanes. They're literally playing Game 7 right now as I speak against Boston, and they have a 1-0 lead, so maybe you're not all too focused on Kuzmenko. Who cares about that guy? Let's focus on Boston and David Pastrnak. So yeah, there are some other conversations I guess you could be having about Carolina. Edmonton as well. They've got a Game 7 coming up in a few hours from now. Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, man. If Draisaitl does not freaking play, then I don't know, maybe you need to sign a Kuzmenko so you guarantee that doesn't happen next year and you have another guy on your roster that could be useful. And then, of course, Vegas, you guys have a lot of issues to work out. So many things with salary cap and player commitments and all that stuff. The way the team has been run has been absolutely just mind-boggling to watch, in my opinion. I know there are Vegas fans that watch this channel, so I apologize for saying that about your team, but it's kind of how I feel, isn't it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you're a fan of any of these teams, Vancouver, Vegas, Nashville, Edmonton, or Vegas. I hope you enjoyed this Shores 99, and bye.